Hello. All right. So we are live here on Facebook and we are live here on Instagram as well, doing multiple things. I'm here to help you in multiple places. So if you are hopping on live, remember to comment team live. If you're watching this replay, remember to comment team replay. We are talking today about fats. What are they? Where they come from? Why we need them and more. So this is a whole bunch of information that you're going to want to have. Now, if you're watching this on Instagram, you know that I haven't been doing these very often, and I'm back, and I want to share with you why. These are some of the things that I do inside my Facebook group. I'm broadcasting this on Instagram and in the Facebook group. So I'm so happy that you're here watching me. Either way, whatever it is, I'm happy that you're here. And like I said, we are talking about fats tonight, good sources of fats, what they are, where to find them, the different types of fats, all of that information. We're going at it now live. So as I said, if you're watching this live, please comment team live. If you're watching this replay, please comment team replay. So happy that you're here. You know what, let's get started. So fats, I have been recently debunking on my Instagram fats. Now we often can think that fats can be either really good for us or really bad for us, and that maybe eating too much fat causes us to be fat. Now that is not the case. Fat helps to promote satiety. What is satiety? Satiety is that fullness feeling. Fat helps to fill you up fast because fat is one of the most nutrient dense. It is the most nutrient dense macronutrient that we have. It has 9 calories per gram. So fats are very satiating because they have 9 calories per gram, which is actually, that's quite a bit, whereas protein and carbs only have 4 calories per gram. So 9 calories per gram, that is very, very satiating. That's keeping us fuller for longer for sure. So they fill us up really fast. Protein is what keeps us full. Carbs is what keeps our energy running high. So all of that, they work all together and they keep us running. So without carbs, without protein, without fat, we're kind of doomed from the start. Our bodies have to make some changes as far as what we're doing, what we're eating, where we're going, all of it, our usage, everything. So there are different types of fats that we should have. There's actually 4 different types of fats. The 2 good fats are going to be the polyunsaturated and the monounsaturated fats. Those are the heart healthy fats. Those are the fats that are good at lowering our LDL, which is our bad cholesterol level, and raising our HDL, which is the good cholesterol. So we want good heart healthy fats, which is the monounsaturated fats and the polyunsaturated fats. Those are the 2 fats that are better for our bodies, better for our hearts. We want to primarily get most of them out of there. We get them from plant sources. Plants are our source of our polyunsaturated and our monounsaturated fats. Actually, a really good source of monounsaturated fat is actually olive oil. Olives and olive oil are really good sources of monounsaturated fat. Polyunsaturated fats, those are coming from things like canola oil, vegetable oil. Think of the omega-3s that you may be taking, the fish oil supplements, things like that. Those are really good source of those polyunsaturated fats. Nuts are also a really good source of the polyunsaturated and the monounsaturated. So with nuts, we can also have nut butters, another really good source of that as well. Even just regular fruits and vegetables can have a little bit of that fat in there. It's not a crazy amount, but primarily we get those polyunsaturated and those monounsaturated from the oils, from the seeds, from the nuts. Even tofu has a little bit too. Soybeans have a little bit of those polyunsaturated and those monounsaturated fats. So those are the good ones. They help to keep our triglycerides under control, our cholesterol under control. They keep our HDL down. They keep our LDL or HDL up. They keep our LDL down, and just keeping us better overall. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if this is making sense. Give me a thumbs up down in the comments below if this is making sense. So then we also have the not as healthy fats. So we'll go with a saturated fat. Saturated fat, it's not as healthy for us. However, we are going to have some of it in our diets because saturated fat is needed in our bodies. We get saturated fat from animal products. So it's not a bad thing to have saturated fat. We don't want to go crazy with saturated fat because too much saturated fat can raise our cholesterol, raise our triglyceride levels. But if we can have saturated fat in moderation, It'll help with that a lot. So saturated fat is not a bad thing. Where do we get saturated fat? We have it from animal products. Like I said, chicken has a little bit of saturated fat in it. Beef has saturated fat in it. Pork has some saturated fat in it. Not in crazy amounts, depending on the cut, really. Full fat dairy is going to have some saturated fat in it, as well as the polyunsaturated and the monounsaturated. But dairy is another good source of those too. And when we have fat in foods as well, those polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, and those saturated fats, we are also getting the fat soluble vitamins, which means those are the vitamins that we store in our fat cells, and they're found in higher fat foods. So A, D, E, and K are also found in foods that have fat. So if we aren't having any sources of fat in our diets or in our bodies, then we are having a hard time getting enough in vitamins A, D, E, and K that are all needed for all of the different processes going on. So without that, we are kind of not doing well. So we need to have it. So saturated fat, we want to keep that under control, about 20 grams or less a day, ideally. So just keeping in mind, if you are going too crazy on saturated fat, like I said, it can raise your cholesterol levels. Newsflash, dietary cholesterol does not affect your blood cholesterol levels. It's actually just a saturated fat. So just keep that in check, keep it in mind, and keep going. Lastly, we have trans fat, which is chemically made and added to a product to make it shelf stable. So chemically made, added to a product to make it shelf stable. Think of those Hungry Man banquet dinners that are sitting in the freezer section. Those most likely have some saturated or some trans fat, and saturated too, most likely some trans fat in them, because the engineers, the cooks, however you want to call them in the factory, they want those foods to stay looking and tasting like it did when they made them. It's got to stay looking and tasting like it did when they made them. So what do? They add the saturated fat in to help with keeping that staying looking and tasting like it did when it was made. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up. So we want to kind of limit, actually get rid of all saturated fats completely, because those are a direct raise to what we are having, a direct raise to our cholesterol, triglyceride levels, raising our LDL levels, things that we want to kind of limit overall. We do not want to do those. So we want to keep in control with that. So what are some ways that we can lower? I keep talking about these triglycerides, the cholesterol levels. What are some ways that we can lower them? Fiber is your friend. And maybe I'll have to do an upcoming live on fiber soon, but fiber is your friend. Having fiber, women, you need 25 grams, men need 35 to 38 grams of fiber a day. That is a way to naturally reduce your overall triglycerides, cholesterol, all of that level is with fiber, because it helps to soak it up and get rid of it from the body. But if you're having really good sources of those polyunsaturated and those monounsaturated fats, then you really might not even have the elevated triglyceride or cholesterol problem. So just get that checked. As always, when you're going and getting blood work done from your doctor, asking them to say, can you do a full, lipid panel as well, will also be very important too. So those are the different types of fats. How much fat do we need a day? We want 20 to 35% of our overall intake coming from fats. 20 to 35% of our overall intake. We have to remember, like I said in the beginning, fats have about 9 calories per gram. So we want to make sure that, 20 to 35% of our intake is coming from fats, but it's not going to be a gram per gram thing with protein, because fat is more calorie dense than protein is or carbs are. So just keeping that in mind as well. And remember too, with your fats, they are helping you promote satiety. So having a fat with every meal is going to help you keep you fuller for longer. So this has just been my little crash course in fats. What are they? Where do we get them from? What do they do in our bodies? They help to keep you fuller for longer. Also too, fat is essential on our bodies. We need fat to help protect our internal organs. We need it there, especially when it's placed in strategic areas. Like you might say, oh my gosh, my lower stomach, oh, I can't stand it. It's got a pooch, whatever you want to call it. It's actually there to help protect our uterus, because you don't want your uterus knocked around and damaged, and you can't have kids. So we need fat on our bodies. It's essential. A body fat percentage, it can be a good indicator, but it's not an overall predictor of overall health. So just keep that in mind. Now, I want to thank you so much for tuning in tonight. If you have any questions or you need anything, you can always reach on out to me. Like I said, my name is Emily Tells. I'm your registered dietitian and nutrition coach. I can also leave the link to the application to work with me one-on-one down in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning in on this, what night is this? Tuesday night. I'm still thrown off. Have a wonderful night. We will be back next week with another training. Comment below on what you want that next training to be. Remember to share this with your friends, share the page with your friends, whatever it is. Have a wonderful night. I'll talk to you soon.